But a lot of women are just saying, okay, well, we don't like him. We just don't like him, and we don't like some of the things that he's tweeted and said. And, when we watch The View, the ladies on The View don't like him, et cetera, et cetera. So how does he change that image? Like, how does he do that? I think that the vice presidency is going to be the key. I think he has got to go with a woman. He's got to actually pick a woman that other women like. Now, there is a challenge, right? Think about it. A lot of women did not come out to vote for Nikki Haley. I know we've talked about Nikki, and everyone's like, no, because she's a traitor and this and that, and she doesn't like him, But let me just be simple. Like, I don't know as women like her enough. I was thinking a lot about this last night, y'all, and I was just like, okay, this is getting serious. Because if he has this big a deficit, and it's enough that it's showing up in the polls right now, I know that it's an outlier, but Quinnipiac I'm not going to dismiss. So that means, as much as many of you like Vivek, as much as we all like Dr. Ben Carson, although I saw some of the energy comments, as long as we like, and we do, Tim Scott is just wonderful, right? And he just got engaged. Congratulations to him. Byron Donalds, who's been on the show, fantastic guy, smart. How do we get women? Like, why is Joe getting the women? He's not getting them with Kamala, I guarantee you. So that's the question, right? This is the conundrum. So I was talking to some sources last night, and the list has grown more narrow. There are definitely some people on that short list from what I'm hearing. And one of the things that is being considered, one of the things that is being looked at is this, in fact, this female deficit, right? You've got to get the women over, and he's not really going to be the one to do it, but he could have a surrogate that does so. Kind of like Mike Pence was with the evangelicals. A lot of people were like, well, maybe the evangelicals won't really go for him because they won't really buy it. And then he gets Mike Pence, who's like Mr. Evangelical. And all the evangelicals are like, yeah, I thought I liked Trump, and now I really like him because he's got Pence. So you want those women that are maybe just sort of in the middle, feeling independent, maybe on the cusp of voting for Biden. You got to bring them in. And the way that you do that is with a woman that they like and that they can relate to. So that is a hard thing to find. That's a hard thing to pick. All right. And women are tough on other women. I'm just going to say it. Look, I'm a woman. I can say this. I've seen it. I'm not like that. I honestly, I had a lot of young, beautiful women that would come on my show, and older women and younger, whatever. Like and they were like, you're the only woman here at this network that seems to, I think Maria's cool about this too, that puts other women on. Because I think that just a lot of people feel very, they get sharp elbows, this, that, and the other. I don't think that way, but I approach this knowing that is a reality. To me, I see an attractive woman and I don't think less of her. I'm like, oh, let me know more about her. But a lot of women might see somebody who is attractive as a little bit of a threat. I'm just being a realist. We're just, we're among friends here, right? We're among friends. Leslie, I know, is my friend. Good to see you. Dawn, I know, is my friend, but Leslie, am I not right? Like, women can be tough on other women. It's just the reality of it. I don't really get it, but it is the world in which we live. So let's start with that premise, and let's kind of go through the list here. Some of you talk about Tulsi. Yeah, I see that, Jonathan. Tulsi Gabbard, compare her to Kamala Harris. Well, I'll take Tulsi any day over Kamala Harris. Thank you very much. And I think that she's an interesting person, and she's sort of her own person, if you would, which is really important. She is kind of cool, right? Like, she kind of, just is likable. She seems very much to have her own conviction. She was in the military. She's certainly taken her share of what from the likes of the Clintons. Think about Hillary Clinton's campaign. And Hillary coming out and accusing her of being a Russian spy, for goodness sakes. Somebody who was in our armed services, they're accusing of being a Russian spy. I mean, you just got to remember how bad this can get. Really bad this can get. So if Tulsi teams up with Trump, by the way, keep in mind they're gonna attack anyone, right? So we just have to weigh these odds. If Tulsi goes and teams up with Trump, what would that mean for Donald Trump? They're going to say, oh, he's a Russian spy, and now he's got the Russian spy as vice president. I don't think it's a disqualifier. What might be more challenging is, and it might be fine. You know what? One of the issues as well is she really conservative enough? And so does it give any conservatives pause? I do think that he's got his base, and that base is not going anywhere. So the idea here is expansion. Can Tulsi Gabbard expand the base? Yeah, I guess. But she's more closely identified with the Democrats than perhaps, and Don agrees with me. Hawaiian Democrat, you're being more harsh than me. But Tulsi is on a list. I wouldn't call it the short list right now. That's in part why I start with her. There's some others out there. Carrie Lake. I know you guys love Carrie Lake, but that means more base, right? You're bringing in more of the base, which you already have. So you don't need, let's just be, again, we're all among friends here. Like, do you need more base? No. I mean, if you're going to get more base, then just go get Vivek, because Vivek is super smart. And heck, he should certainly get a cabinet position. The guy is really smart, and he's built 2 big businesses and has tremendous degrees in this, that, and the other. So, like, if you need more base, is it really Carrie Lake? Is she going to bring in women? I don't think she will. And the other thing you got to consider about all this is that Carrie Lake is a very big personality. And from one big personality to another, I can tell you, it's hard to have all of that oxygen being taken up in one room. So while she might be great at a rally for Donald Trump, does he really want to be in the office with her every day? Probably not. I mean, this is why he and Mike Pence actually worked pretty well together up until the end. So Tulsi, a cabinet post, that makes sense, Don. That makes sense. But does she actually make it to the vice presidency? I don't think so. I see Kayleigh McEnany on the list. David, somebody was talking to me about that just last night. Beautiful girl. Absolutely beautiful girl. Went to Harvard. So very smart, whatever you think about Harvard, is married to a professional baseball player, and obviously has had a working history with Trump. He doesn't like her so much these days. Remember, he came out and was very angry about some of the things that she was saying. And the question becomes, is she going to win with women? She's a mom, so there's a plus. She's had her share of health concerns or fears, so again, relatable, but she's awfully darn pretty. So I just bring that up, we're again among friends. I would hate to think that that's ever a reason for a problem. I don't think it should be, but it's something that, is she smart enough? Does she have enough experience? I think she's probably smart enough. I don't know if she has enough experience. So you've got to think about everyday soccer moms at home. Who do they want? I don't know, is Kayleigh, I mean, they like her. I like her, by the way. I've known her for many years. I love her. She's a really terrific person, and she's very serious about religion. It's important to her, and I respect that, and she's a mom and all of those things. Interesting, but do you run the risk that, it's this Harvard gorgeous girl in stilettos? I don't know. She's a great press secretary, though. Okay, so let's keep going. Guys. So we've got Tulsi, Carrie, Kayleigh, Marsha Blackburn. You know what? She's kind of a dark horse in all this. Marsha Blackburn's beaten Taylor Swift before. She's a grandmother, so maybe younger women might look up to her a little bit. Maybe middle-aged women won't be threatened by her. Grandmothers might also look up to her because she's kind of got it going on. She's super smart. Again, she's been on the show many times. I've known Senator Blackburn for many years, and she is definitely someone who's very loyal to Donald Trump. So that loyalty matters too. Don't forget. So Marsha Blackburn, I think you could probably put her on the short list column. I would say Tulsi, Carrie, Kaylee we can kind of put in the middle, but Tulsi and Carrie, they're probably going over there way on the other side of things. Meaning it's unlikely. And there's more. Kristi Noem, right, out in South Dakota. Possibility. She's a governor. She would do a good job at sort of kind of taking a step back, if you would, right, and letting Donald Trump be center stage. And oh my gosh, Charles, don't give it away. I'm going to hold off on that because he's making some comments. I actually have a lot to say about that. I'm just reading some of your comments. And Charles Thorngren is one of our wonderful sponsors, by the way. I haven't gotten to my interview with Donald Trump and what he said about the Fed, as well as Maria Bartiromo's interview, what he said today. We're going to get there, and we're going to talk about gold. But I do think that the governor of South Dakota probably goes in that middle spot. Like, I don't know as I'm going to count her out, but I also, she's fine. She feels a little Mike Pence-like, and she is a little bit, out of central casting, an attractive woman, a governor. She speaks in a very sort of direct, intelligent sounding way, and she's been loyal, right? So that's all sort of check marks in the positive box. Women being women, will they love her? Will they like her? Will they try and, find flaws and alleged flaws in her personal life? I don't know. But those are just the realities that, if you're on the opposition research team, these are some of the things you look at. And if you're in some kind of, polling business where it's like, okay, what resonates, what really works? So Kristi, I think, you can put her in that middle column. Nikki Haley, yesterday we were talking about this and you guys are like, no. And I'm like, but did you see the Quinnipiac poll? Right? Like, here's the thing. I thought about it again last night and I'm like, wait a second. And I looked at the polling data out of New Hampshire, which, by the way, was like mainly independents, Democrats that were registered as independents, but have every intention of voting for Biden, that just went out to vote in New Hampshire. But what was amazing to me is she didn't poll better with women. And I'm like, why not? Right? Don't women like other women or no? Maybe not, right? So you've got to have the right woman. This is why it's so hard. And, maybe it's unfair and this, that, and the other. But she didn't do as well with women as well as she should have. So I think that combined with her attacks on Trump make it sort of impossible for her. I mean, look, Trump is not Biden. Remember Biden? He was like taking Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris destroyed him on live television, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely, positively destroyed him at that Democrat debate. Didn't help her at all, by the way. Her numbers went right down because she looked like the meanie I think that she probably is. Right? So Kamala did all that, and Joe went back and said, well, what do you think? Match made in heaven, right? So Kamala and Joe, that's a special union. I don't see Trump doing that in light of some of the things that Nikki has said. Okay, so loyalty matters. By the way, loyalty matters, I think, to people that support Donald Trump. They don't want somebody who seems like she's not really on the team. And if I'm Trump, I'm like, whoa, okay, like I better have a food taster in the White House because you never know. So, we've talked about Tucker Carlson in the past. I'm talking about the ladies right now, right? So Tucker, Tim Scott, if you're just joining us right now on the live edition of the show, we're going through who the possibilities on the vice president shortlist are. And I have had some interesting conversations with people. And I think there's a recognition that they need to somehow close this gap with women. And Trump's not going to be the one to do it. So he needs some kind of surrogate, similar to Mike Pence having that ability to really connect and relate with evangelicals back in 2016. So who is the woman that does that right now? It's not going to be... Tucker's a guy. It's not going to be Tucker. And by the way, having somebody like Tucker, I think is great. Like he's an interesting character. He's got interesting ideas. He would probably do very, very well and be very helpful for the country. But you're just doubling down on what you've already got in terms of the male constituency. You've already got the base. So I want to make sure I don't leave anyone out before I go to the one that I really think might be a top contender. Elise Stefanik. I see, Constantine, you're talking about Elise, and I think that she is for sure there on a relative short list. I think Elise Stefanik impressed everyone with how she went after the president of Harvard University, Claudine Gay. She showed herself to be very direct, very smart. In the past, she's been very anti-Trump, so that could come back to haunt her. But she's clearly been very out front, is supportive of him, has already said that she would welcome any role in the administration. She is from New York. She's young. She might be able to help him, but I think I know somebody, if she wants it, I think I know somebody who might even be able to do this a little bit better. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. I think Sarah Huckabee Sanders actually is somebody you should watch very, very carefully right now. Certainly loyal to Trump, has the experience as a governor herself, has been around politics her whole life, has the benefit of dad understanding how a lot of this works, Mike Huckabee, and is actually respected by a lot of members of the media. I mean, they will attack her a zillion different ways, you know that. But I think a lot of members of the media still ultimately respect her because they felt like she was a straight shooter in all those press conferences. And she's kind of no frills, right? She's sort of like America's sweetheart. And I bring that up because she's an attractive woman, but women aren't going to feel like, oh, she's too much or she's got too many highlights in her hair or anything like that. I actually think she could actually be a very plausible, excellent candidate for him. I mean, I rarely go out on these limbs. I did actually say that about Mike Pence too, because I felt back in 2015 into 16, Mike Pence would be the perfect vice president. They have a great relationship, Sarah Huckabee Sanders and President Trump. They work well together. He listens to her and she listens to him. It's like a mutually respectful relationship. And I think Americans would really respond to her in a very, very excited way. She's warm, she's intelligent, and relatable. Okay, like this is me. I'm putting my television hat on now, but like relatable stuff actually does kind of matter. I know. I mean, there's certainly some other options out there, and I'm hearing about a woman out of Alabama that they're talking about as well, a young politician there. It could be anyone. Don't forget McCain came out of nowhere with Sarah Palin. How amazing was that? Like nobody. I remember my husband and I were in Switzerland at the time. We were hiking. It was summertime, and it comes across. It probably was my BlackBerry back then. That was back in the day, and I'm like, Sarah Palin. Who the heck is Sarah Palin? And at the time I worked at CNBC, Maria Bartiromo was there, and she had just been up doing a story on oil in Alaska. And so I was good friends with her and her producers, and they were like, whoa, yes. They were like, wow, because like they had the only footage of Sarah Palin. Nobody even knew who she was. It was also kind of a different day and age, right? Before sort of the onset of social media, et cetera. So there could be a dark horse waiting in the wings, certainly. And that might happen. But I mean, I'm just trying to think about if you want conservative policies come 2024, who is the person that's going to get you there? Who's going to close that gap? I think it's got to be a woman that other women like. So we'll see. Maybe she wants it. Maybe she doesn't. That's a whole other thing, right? I mean, again, you guys are saying Tucker would be great. Listen, Tucker would be phenomenal. Vivek would be phenomenal. Tim Scott would be phenomenal. Byron Donalds would be phenomenal. All of them. By the way, Tulsi, Carrie, Kaylee, like Christy, you have a ton of people that are uber qualified. And you know what? That's good news, right? Hey, let's be happy that people actually want to be in the business of politics. Because, it's not a fun business, shall we say. And it's pretty dicey Elise Stefanik. I mean, wow, she's rolling the dice, because if he doesn't win, think about the cancel culture on steroids coming for her. I mean, it's a tough, nasty world out there.